Two-time Hall of Fame inductees, Brent Godarzi and Marty Young. Back-to-back #1 trucking firm in the nation. Back-to-back best attorney and best law firm in East Texas.
Welcome to Army of Buckeyes to the Gilmer Buckeyes Coaching Show. I'm Todd Robinson, your host today, with the head coach and athletic director of the Gilmer Buckeyes, Coach Alan Metzel. Coach Metzel, second chapter is over. Congratulations on an undefeated 9-0 season and the third straight district championship for your Gilmer Buckeyes here in 2022. You've talked about it all season long. There's 3 parts to the season. The preseason, which was a gauntlet of punching above our weight class. You came through that unscathed and undefeated. District title now under your belt. It's time for the playoffs. As Coach Traylor used to call it, it's trophy time, and the first one's already in the trophy case. How you feeling about things going into playoffs?
We're pretty excited. This is what you play for. It's what you practice for. It's what you're thinking about when you start two-a-days. It's, this is what it's about. And I think not only do our guys get excited, our coaches get excited, that you feel it in the town. It's everybody starts to ramp up. And so this is when it gets fun.
Well, it has been an interesting year. Obviously, 3 straight district championships. We get used to that, but that's nothing to take for granted. Mm-hmm. If you were to go into any other program all across the state and say kind of ho-hum another undefeated season through a district title under your belt and rolling into the playoffs, state ranked very highly, we'll kind of talk about playoffs a second as we come down in the show. This is really kind of part of the expectations that I think our kids have built in. Talk about the experience of playing 2 back-to-back state championships, which no Buckeye teams have ever done. And as we talked about, our coach Jeff Rash talked about from a coaching standpoint, this class of guys has won more ball games and reached greater heights than any Buckeye team in history. What expectations come along with this senior class now that you look at, here comes the next playoff run?
Well, the standard has been set high through the years, and so every season this town expects great things. I think that when you have players that have played in state championships like we have the past couple of years, they have high expectations, and that there's bonuses to that. There's a mentality, I think, where you expect to win, that you begin to understand what's expected. The energy level that is necessary, the discipline that is necessary, the pacing of a season, understanding that 8 games is your halfway point, not 5, and those sorts of things. All of that is very, very important. And it's also a challenge in that that you have the pressure. That's something that's out there. You don't want to be the team that doesn't come through. It also can be something that weighs you down if you don't handle it in the right way. Like you see it as a weight as opposed to an opportunity. And so those are all things that we're trying to mature in and make sure that we've got our eyes focused where they need to be and take care of business this week.
Well, talk about your senior leadership as well. When you've got guys like Ro Llewellyn, this next game will be his 40th varsity start. Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, I played in 18 or 19 as a starter and thought I was doing something. These guys are up there with 20 plus. Just in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then you go all the way back to a 15-game season the year before. How does that really provide benefits from a senior standpoint in that attitude that you just talked about, an opportunity rather than a burden?
Well, I think, when you look at those extra weeks of practice, those extra big games, et cetera, you've created a tolerance and a comfort level of challenging games, big crowds, big stadiums, big time moments. And so, hopefully you have a comfort level with difficulty and with challenges. And so that's a huge benefit. A guy like Ro's played in 2 state championship games, not just been in them, but, been a very important part. And many of this group has as well. They were on that team and got valuable minutes 2 years ago. And then obviously last year. So that should help us as we move forward and being able, we hope, to impart a certain level of expectation to the younger guys too, so that they can ride that wave and carry that momentum as they move forward.
Yeah, that was my next question. You got a sophomore quarterback who's just capping off his first season as a starter. You got a lot of guys that are not just contributing now, but I think about guys like Jeremiah Noble that are really starting to develop into their own
Lucas
here.
Keno,
I mean, just
right.
We're talking about all-state
Handful of
caliber
kids.
guys.
Right.
That this is really not their first taste of the playoffs, but the first taste of being a real, contributor and part of it.
Right.
We talk about the hunger that this team has in terms of, obviously, 2 back-to-back state championship games. We didn't come away with the skin on the wall, but those guys feel like that's what we do every year. What's the hunger like in terms of now we've waited since 2-a-days till now this stage of the season? It's trophy time. What's that mean to these guys?
Well, I think that it's a natural place for them to be in right now, and they want it to be okay. It's our turn. It's our turn to be the ones that are leading. It's our turn to not just ride the coattails of others, but to be the ones that are out front, and like I said, to pass on to the younger ones. And that's something I've tried to really shift our focus to in our captains' meetings and so forth. Is men understand. What you do now, for better or for worse, you're imparting to that next group that this is what you'll carry on. That's your legacy, even more than records. It's the work habits. It's the way they interact with the younger guys. It's the way they handle a practice each day. And so those are things that I think they're stepping up to and are excited to make their mark in.
Well, we'll talk about playoffs coming up here. Last week, obviously, moved the game up to Thursday. Seems like one of a million curveballs that we've had this entire season of things that just come up. But 44-14, your score. Seemed like the guys just handled it, even though we had a couple of key guys out. Let's talk about that game and look at some highlights and what things came down on Thursday in Pittsburgh.
You bet. Well, obviously, like I said, we changed the game on Tuesday, moved our sub-varsities from Thursday to Wednesday. A lot of things changed from the logistics, from timing, et cetera, but the guys did handle it well. I thought that was good. We also used this night to get some guys in. Rowan didn't play the other night again. We're just being cautious. And just different things that we were trying to get the ball on certain people, being able to experiment a little bit in certain ways with certain calls, because we want to make sure we know what we want to do over the next couple of weeks. And so the other night gave us that opportunity to do that. So one of the things that we were real pleased with was increasing Amari Hamilton's opportunities. He got to return kicks this past week. He's playing receiver and DB. But you saw him, and I'll go ahead and start in our first video clip here. This is the opening kickoff. As you can see on the freeze frame, they do a squeeze alignment. We felt like if they kicked it deep, we would be able to get a pin on their outside guys. And with the guys that we have, with the speed they have, we felt like we could get to the outside. So I'll go ahead and let this roll. So they do kick it deep, and you can see our guys get leverage and begin to pin all these. So you've got white jerseys all on the outside here. So now we've just got to get Payco, is his nickname. We've got to get Payco to this side. Well, once he gets here, now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white jerseys out in front. They had one kicker right there, and we just had to clear him. And Payco took it home for his first. He scored a couple of times, but it seems like we have a penalty every time. So we were glad that he actually got to keep his touchdown this time, and he was pretty excited about that.
Well, it's been obvious through the whole season that Mari's an electric guy, but when it comes down to it, it takes a game like this for you to just be able to see the depth that really has. But I felt like really going into the playoffs, the timing really couldn't have been any more perfect for him to really be hitting his stride.
Right.
You talked about, it may even be in the highlights here, but the little juke move that he made to go score is as electric as you're going to see at any level.
Right.
And I hope that's on every defensive coordinator's film that's watching us trying to say, oh, I don't want to see that in the playoffs.
Right, and that one got called back. And we did have a penalty, I have to say. We did. On that particular play.
Well, the penalty was the move that Amari put on that defensive back. That was illegal in about 6 states.
That was a nice little stick, and then went by. So I've got our second play here. This is just, I picked a few plays off of our defense. I really could have picked a whole number of things. But here's Aaron Bell setting the edge. They're a run team, and there's Aaron to start the game off, and just very physical right at the first of the game. To me, that was why I went ahead and put it in, was it set a tone, right there, that our defense was ready to go and going to deal with them in a very physical manner. So you can see how they rush up to the ball. Our guys did a great job of handling the coming from the huddle to the line quickly in the different sets. And so here you get to see Braylon Ward right down here in the middle. Braylon, 44, just a huge force. He gets great penetration, hits the guy right here, and then is driving him backwards and rips the ball out, all in the process, and we get the ball right here early in the game. So Braylon was wrecking the line of scrimmage, just as he does each week.
I was about to say, it's like instant replay for the past, entire season.
Mm-hmm.
I was kidding Jeff, texting back and forth. I was on my way back from South Carolina and saying I was getting just the coverage with the cell coverage was a little bit iffy on the video, but I turned it on and saw that play, exactly what you just showed, and just thought, well, 44's here. It's all. I might as well turn it off now. It just was complete domination from the very beginning.
He's a very physical player. I'm glad I don't have to line up across from him. Here's Ashton Haynes. We run an inside play, a counter play up inside, and you can just see we always talk about how gifted he is in between the tackles, how he just finds the hole, is able to just move, give the dead leg, so to speak, when teams are trying to tackle him. So watch it here from the end zone, and you can just see there's small creases in there. When you look at that, most guys will panic and run to the outside, and Ashton's so patient, keeps working his way through, finds the hole, and then watch this move here where he just slips by the defender and then has the speed to get into the end zone for our first offensive score.
That's just why he's the first team All-State running back.
Correct.
I mean, we say it all the time. I think watching Ash run is so reminiscent of watching Gus Johnson run, except that I think as great a feat, Gus broke every record that SFA has, still owns all the rushing records, played a couple of years in the NFL, and I think at this stage in their career, Ashton may be the best running back that we've ever had, that I've ever seen. That's really saying good. Something.
He's really good, no doubt, and we're very grateful to have him. We have here we go with a deep pass, and we felt like we could get over the top, and we missed several. But that's one of those things where you've just got to keep firing. You just, especially for Caden, where he gets a confidence of I'm going to hit my next one. I'm going to keep throwing my next one. And we had missed one earlier, but we come back, and we're going to go to Cade Bowman here. Cade's at the top of the picture here. And Caden's in great rhythm here. He gets the ball up. Cade just blows past the secondary, gets behind him, and great catch over the shoulder for the touchdown. And
well, you see the distance on that throw, and I honestly think that a lot of DBs at the high school level, about 40 yards, will turn around and kind of start slowing up and looking for the ball, because they don't think the guy can throw it that far. And in this case, that's a perfect strike that Cade knew exactly what speed to run and caught it in stride right about the 5-yard line. That's 50 yards in the air. That's pretty polished for a sophomore.
That was a nice throw. Great job by Cade on being at the landmark so that Caden could drop it right where he needed to. So a lot of days of practice on that.
I was about to say, there's about 150 reps behind that connection.
A whole lot of misses before you get to that make. That's good stuff. So we'll move to our next one. Here's another one of our top defenders all throughout the year, and that's Seth Jordan. Seth makes a big defensive stop here in the backfield. He just does a great job of playing with leverage. He's a big, strong guy, but I think that his ability to just always keep leverage is what makes him make so many plays in the backfield.
And he's just getting better.
He really
better
is.
And better.
Each week he keeps having big plays. So excited about what Seth's doing. Here we go with Kevion Brinkley. Kevion comes in and gives Ashton and Will a breather at times, and he comes in and gave us a spark here, about a 35-yard run on a draw. Does a great job sidestepping several guys, gets out into the open. They grab hold of him here in just a second, and he just breaks that tackle and just keeps moving down the field all the way down to the, 11-yard line. So that, when you can run a draw play and pick up about 30, then that really helps your passing game.
Absolutely. I mean, and the line blocking, but if you go back and watch that again, it's worth rewinding, and just how well coached all of our backs are. Coach Tate's been here forever, but when he switches that ball over to his outside hand and just does it because it's just mentally he's repped it so many times, protect the ball, get the ball to your outside hand.
Arm.
That just, and by the way, that's your third string running back.
That's right.
That's an embarrassment of riches. Absolutely.
That's a blessing, no doubt. And Kevion, I've said it before in some of our coaches' shows. He's the ultimate testimony to a young man who, as a freshman, was not one of the bigger, faster guys, and just worked his way into being a player. And boy, it just makes you very, very proud for him. And he's somebody that we can point to so many other kids and say, hey, if you want to be a player on this varsity, just go to work.
Keep on keeping on.
Go to work. That's right. Move to our next one, and here's Will Henderson. Will's beginning to play more and more on defense as well. We want that speed on the field. He makes a great interception here. Recognizes saw the quarterback was making a drop, gets his hand up. It wasn't even his guy. He just was supposed to retreat to an area, which he does. Covering the curl, the ball's a little bit underthrown. He gets his hand up, makes the pick, and gets us the ball back. To me, Will's just a football player, and you got to get him on the field as many different ways as you can to give him the opportunity to make plays, and he just keeps doing it whenever he gets that chance.
However he gets the shot. Well, people ask me all the time, oh, that Henderson kid, he's really, really fast, but is he a football player? Because they see what they did in track, and I say every time, there are track guys that play football, and then there are football players that run track, and we've got one of the latter.
That's right. No doubt about it. Here's another big play by Ashton. We run a screen pass to him. They're beginning to tighten down into the box, and so we send some motion here and drop him out in the backside flat. Great job by the lineman getting out on the screen. You can see them downfield setting up the blocks, and then Ashton just flies into the end zone to finish off the score. So, when you get down to that red zone, you've got to get in. And that's one of the gifts that Ashton has. He's scored, he's one of the top touchdown makers in our school's history.
Right.
And he just has a way of getting into that end zone. So really proud of him and grateful. Now here we are, we saw a very similar play as this against Lindale, where we're trying to milk the clock a little bit, and so we get Ashton in there with Will, and running to our boundary here, just trying to move the clock a little bit, and then Will just takes over and takes it all the way, 89 yards for a touchdown. Just brilliant speed. Great job blocking here on the edge. You can see our left tackle gets the seal block. Here comes the fullback getting his block. Our receiver on the outside. Ashton's leading the way, and then Will just takes over and just outruns everybody to the end zone.
Yeah, you kind of can't coach that, but
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, when you got your first team All-State running back and a guy who's potentially the most talented guy we've ever had running the ball that's leading the way out there, he also knows the jets that the guy behind him has.
That's right.
And the thing that I was the most impressed about is nobody blocked behind the play.
Right.
And I don't know how you do that with Will, because by the time you think
You're
about
behind the
blocking,
play.
you're behind the play.
That's for sure.
It's already over with.
Good point.
So I thought overall it was a great cap, 44-14, obviously final score. As you said pregame, well, Pittsburgh always shows up for us. And they didn't quit till the last whistle.
Hard.
They played hard no matter what we were trying to do.
That's right.
Jeff kept alluding in the broadcast that, these guys aren't going to give up, and they really didn't.
No.
I hope they do that this week against Carthage as well.
Right. Yeah, I do too. And I think they'll play as hard as they can.
Yeah.
They will. They'll give what they have. That's the mentality that Coach Abram is instilling, and so good luck to them.
Yeah, Tristan does a great job over there, and we were hosted great, and boy, am I glad that we played on Thursday and not Friday.
Oh,
I can tell you, during the
nasty.
whole drive, I was thinking, man, they could wait until tomorrow until I get home, and as soon as I got home, my gracious, was I happy that we got it done.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk playoffs. A little bit of another wrinkle curveball appropriate to this season. We would have all put money on the fact that we were going to play the Van Vandals coming into Friday night. And sure enough, we get another curveball with the Rusk Eagles now on the schedule Friday night at Rose Stadium at 7:30. And some familiar names and blasts from all our past in terms of second-generation guys coming up. And they've got a pretty good quarterback over there in Rusk, from what I understand.
That's right, Mr. Aiden McCowan, Josh's son, and he's just a baller. When you watch him, He just makes plays. He's he's one of those guys. He's sneaky, athletic. He'll do a read option and end up with 25 yards. Just making players miss. Winding his way down the field, making good decisions. Somebody's covered, he'll get outside the pocket, and sometimes he'll run for first downs. Sometimes he'll wait to the last minute and then throw a touchdown. Because the guys in the secondary come forward and the receiver's deep. He really is just a great baller. I would say the guy at Lindale last year was similar. Aiden's probably a little better runner, right. But similar in that they're just winners. They're gamers. They're able to extend drives. They're able to find ways to get into the end zone. I was going back through games, and they had like 4th down and 14 on their own 30, and he breaks a couple of tackles and escapes and gets outside and throws it over 2 defenders, and the guy catches and they score. Yeah. And he's throwing it. So he's a handful, and we know that we've got to deal with him. They've got some athletic guys at receiver. In fact, Will Henderson's cousin is Elijah Hart, plays receiver and DB for them. Right. So they've got some athletic kids. We know that we need to prepare and do a good job against these guys. That's the next step in our progression, is to deal with the Rusk Eagles. And so we're looking forward to it. I know our guys will be excited to play. These guys, they've had some big wins. They beat Center in district. The other night they got upset by Canton. It was kind of they've had some inconsistencies, but they had the potential to beat anybody on any given night. And we've got to play well.
Yeah. It's everybody's 0-0 at this point. I mean, if anything, with 2022 has taught us, you got to take the one that's in front of you and go prepare for that one. And when you're preparing for Mr. Aiden, that's maybe from a quarterback standpoint, in terms of just raw talent, not just DNA, but the ability to make things off script happen is probably as prepared as we're going to have to be from here on.
Correct.
And when you look at how stacked our region is, I hate to say this, but the next 3 weeks is probably more challenging than anybody else in the playoffs is going to have even the last 3 weeks.
I would agree.
Because the last team standing from our region is probably going to be that team standing at the end. So for the Buckeye Army, it's trophy time. We need you to come on out to Tyler. We're hoping for good weather on Friday night at 7:30, correct? Against the Rusk Eagles. We will be the home team in Tyler.
That is correct.
We are well versed in terms of the Buckeye Army of what we do at Tyler Rose. So 7:30 start time. The clock's all set back an hour tonight, so there's no excuse for being late. We need everybody to turn out this and every other week, because it's going to get real fast here with playoffs coming up the next couple of weeks. First step is the Rusk Eagles, so we'll see you Friday night at Tyler Rose Stadium, 7:30. We're going to ask the Army to turn out, and it will be trophy time once again.
Yes, sir.
So for myself, Todd Robinson, the head coach and athletic director of the Gilmer Buckeyes, undefeated 3rd straight district championship Gilmer Buckeyes, Coach Alan Metzel will say, see you Friday night, and go Buckeyes.